Alright, complaints. Submitting and resolving the student complaint policy statement of the Georgia Military College policy. Student complaints will fairly administer with the student with affordable, reasonable, accessible, well-publicized pathways. Registering complaints preferred methods. Submitting student complaints electronically through student portal. Definition of complaint and problem concern with the dispute with the disagreement raised by the student within consider they have been a disadvantage wrong because of an action, lack of the action, discussion. Decision and more remission with the control responsibility for the college formal complaint consider the grievance with the coverage by the policy resolution. Policy expect the students will attempt to resolve the complaint to the lowest possible level by contacting district graduation coach, campus leadership before submitting formal written complaints. Submitting complaints. Students inform the GMC catalog, GMC student handbook, refer to the message submitting the student with a complaint with electronic submission via the GMC student portal. GMC student portal provides electronic pathways. Students submit with the institutional complaint with the academic grief of the institution with the dean of students who will route them based on the information provided in the complaint. Complaint sent by email or other means that not consider the single written complaints for the college will not treat the anonymous complaint for those submitted by anyone other than the complaint student with the formal complaints. Resolution with the 2 business days of the receipt of the complaint institution of the dean of students will inform the student via the email with the complaint was received at the time of the proper administrator. The administrator signed to a complaint cannot be the name of the complaint must remain with the impartial of the work to resolve that every attempt should be made to resolve the complaint within 3 business days from the date was assigned to the administrator. The complaint cannot be resolved in the 3 business days of the administrator charged with resolving will inform the complaint and institutional dean and student of the administrator responsible for the resolve of the complaint will inform the student in writing by the email with the resolution is complete. Administrator will notify the institutional dean of students of the resolution process complete with the explaining with the complaint was resolved. The complaint records college except for the administrator to maintain records necessary for the temperature of the college for all of the established procedure with the guide of review of the complaints protecting against sexual harassment. Student ready for the protection of sexual harassment and likely welcome sexual advance for the request level of favors to other verbal, physical conduct, sexual nature constitute sexual harassment. When following actions characterize sexual harassment, submission such conduct explicitly implicit with the term and condition of individual academic standing or employment, or submission to rejection such conduct over the individual youth the basis of the academic decision or employment, or such conduct unreasonable and interferes with the individual academic performance work, or creates an intimidating, hostile, offensive learning environment. Any student who feels sexually harassed will conduct within the institution will distinguish students, faculty, graduation coach, faculty member choice of further details, Georgia Military College Sexual Harassment Policy Institute and Assistance and Procedure following the non-academic grievance. Equal Opportunity Policy, Georgia Military adhere to the federal and state civil rights with the law of banning discrimination in public institution and higher education. Georgia Military College will not discriminate against employing with the employment student with the applicant admission with a based on race, hearing status, personal appearance, color, sex, pregnancy, political affiliation, source of income, place of business, residence, religion, creed, ethnicity, and national origin, including ancestry, citizen status, physical or mental disability, age, marital status, family responsibility, sexual orientation, gender identity, veteran or military status, including special disabled veteran, veteran era veteran, recently separated veteran, predisposing genetic characteristics, domestic violence victim status, any other protected category under applicable law, state federal law, including protection for those opposing discrimination or participating in complaint process of the campus with the Equal Opportunity Commission, other human rights agencies. Policy cover the non-discriminating and employment action for the educational opportunity, but therefore any member of the campus community with guests, visitors who actively deny it is to provide a limited educational, employment, and social accesses benefit for the opportunities of any of the members of the campus community based on their actual perceived of the membership of the protected class. The list above violates college policy with the non-discriminating with the brought with the attention of the college, saying such discrimination will be appropriately remedied by the college. The complaints dealing with the discrimination is addressed with Vice President of the Human Resources Affirmative Action Officer in person or in writing. Student disability service the student disability service the programs are provided by the GMC student and serve the student with the meeting with the accommodation serve the E and serve the equal access. Georgia Military College is committed with the total inclusion of the individual with the providing equal opportunity to participate in any of the benefits for all programs serve the activities by proving consistent provision, reasonable accommodation, encourage student independence, personal growth, self-advocacy, promoting diversity and inclusion in all environment, supporting training, providing resources to the faculty, staff, and administrators, supporting institutional staying with integrity, valuing high expectations for all students, including those with disabilities, providing guidance for leadership regarding policy decision planning, policy proceedings, students with disabilities. Georgia Military College committed with the total inclusion of all of the individual, providing equal opportunity to participate, benefit for all programs, service activities. Georgia Military College, all supportive of individual rights and responsibility. Public institution, federal funding for the Georgia Military College adhere to Section 504, Rehabilitation Act 1973, American Disability Act 1990, ADA amendments of the 2008. All pertinent federal and state legislation institution will ensure for the reasonable accommodation for the students with a disability with the Office of the Student Disability Service. Institutional policy ensure for the responsibility accommodation made on the individual case-to-case basis. However, the responsibility with the student with identified with the scope of the disability to make the needs known. The Georgia Military College will be given the primary consideration. Individuals required to provide with a reasonable accommodation unless the equal effort effective with aid and service available to means chosen with the result of the fundamental alteration. Georgia Military College programs accommodation will result with an undue financial administrative burden. Definition: individual disability defined person who has one physical or mental impairment is substantial, limited as one or more life activities or records of the impairment. 3. With regard to having such impairment, accommodation with the adjustment, structural location, mode, access for the educational environment, accommodation reasonable and no alter academic standard with the expectation not in play with the unreviewed financial administrative hardship of an institution. Contact person, manager, student disability is located with the main campus of Georgia Military College, 201 E Green Street, Midgeville, Old Capitol Building, phone number 478-387-4902. Specific information, please visit the website. The disability will not be effective qualifying for the college admission. Ensure complete translation of the policy active for the individual with disability to critical areas of rights and responsibility. Have to consider the right of the individual with disability to include based on the criteria unfairly discriminate because of the disability. The right of the institution set with the maintain standard of the admitting the evaluation progress of the student. Rights of the responsibility institution. Georgia Military College recognize the fundamental responsibility identified with the maintain academic technical standard that is essential for providing quality academic programs while ensuring the rights of an individual with a disability to meet with the obligation. Georgia Military College recovers the following rights and responsibility with the institution. Rights to request the receipt of the documentation supporting accommodation request. Institution right to deny the request of the documentation demonstrated with the accommodation necessary if the individual fails and will provide such documentation. Right to select among the effective of the combination with the individuals with a disability. Right to refuse unreasonable accommodation one with impose with the undue with the hardship of the institution with the responsibility to ensure that the recruitment information activities available to accessible. Responsibility of evaluating applicant based solely on their abilities, qualification, evaluation, method, criterion, unfairly discriminating against the applicant with a disability. College will seek responsibility alternative with the responsibility to ensure all academic programs are accessible, unable as usable. Responsible to adjust substitute with a waive of the academic requirements which are the unfairly discriminate against students with a disability and that are not essential for the integrity of student academic programs. Responsibility for reasonable accommodations for a student with disability delivery instructional method evaluation system of the course. Responsibility to inform applicants, students with availability with the auxiliary age range of the possible accommodation procedures requesting them. Responsibility to inform the individual with the right to appeal with a decision pursued with the initiative of the appeal with the accommodation request. Indeed, rights and responsibility of the individual with disability have the right to equal opportunity to participate in and benefit from the programs at Georgia Military College. Ensure the right of individual with disability. Georgia Military College must identify the scope of the disability office of student with disability. Serve with the contact with the manager with the disability. Serve with all rights responsibility are placed on the individual. Right equal opportunity to learn. Have the right to reasonable accommodation aspect of the education experience, such location, delivery system, instructional methodology, limit access, participation, ability to benefit with the right to equal opportunity to participate and benefit with the academic committee with the included access to serve with the co-curricular activities reviewed entirely with a comparable with those provided into any other student with the right confidential the information have the right to treat with human information from the disabilities was discovered with the right information regarding the availability of auxiliary aids possible the accommodations well with the procedure making less for either right to be informed procedure with the initiative with appeal with the decision institution regarding auxiliary aids and accommodation right to be informed procedure with initiating further appeal with the institutional decision external channels typically would be done through the filing complaint with official civil rights filing case through a civil court system. Same responsibility any other student meet with maintaining the institution academic responsibility, academic standard responsibility advocate for their own need with the seek with the information council of the system necessarily effective self advocates. Reasonable to demonstrate with a document whether their disability limited with their ability to benefit with a particular delivery system and an instructional method of the evaluation criteria with a request for the accommodation. From other foul with the published proceed with making such request and to with it do with the same fashion as most of the foul published proceed with the following appeal. Verification process with the Office of the Student with Disability should determine the verification process with the disability should at GMC. Student requesting accommodation disability must complete with the online request over the website with the student made and email with the documentation may have a psychological, neurological, orthopedic evaluation manager with the student with disability should cwells at gmc.eu. Students may also submit the documents to the local site of the disability should the representative all of the documents scanned with the same with the manager, the student with the disability should the ones with the application complete with the application. The office of the student with the disability will contact the student with a schedule with the interview will be conducted face to face by phone or one on Zoom with the initial coordinate consultation with the student with the gain student perspective of the how with the disability impact with the academic performance classroom with the educational environment. Following interview with the manager review of the documentation keeps it within record with the manager for the develop with the accommodation plan with the student with the contact with the student with the request of the meeting of the schedule and once the accommodation plan with the develop senior academic administrator with the design with the meets with the student with the review of the accommodation plan should the institution with able to support the accommodation request or his or her offer responsible equally effective with the accommodation student will receive with a written letter examining the denial alteration accommodation student with a may appeal with the denial alternative with the accommodation using first the informal appeal for the process. Formal appeals process outlined below. Level 1 informal appeal with all questions regarding the accommodation should be the director of the manager of student disability should be the 5 working day with the upon receipt of the accommodation plan denial letter denial approve of the accommodation. Level 2 formal appeal should the student disagree with the decision of the manager of student with a disability should be the top of the denial accommodation require the whole and the denial with the individual accommodations with the student with the file with the written appeal with the institution with the student with the appeal should be included with the description with the reason for the appeal with the supportive information documentation institutional dean and provide with a decision 5 working days upon the receipt of the written appeal with the decision found with the outcome of the appeal that does not resolve the issue with the student with the have the right to with the further appeal with the institutional scene decision for the external challenge for all the testing student with the may have the accommodation for the given academic term of the Starfish program. Students have the right to request instructor notification letters each quarter in the Starfish receive a copy of the letter by email with the request complete. Verification status. Office of the Student with Disability will assign with the student verification status depending on the type of the disability student would have been diagnosed with the completeness documentation submitted. Ongoing student who receive the ongoing verification submitted current with the complete documentation exhibited the impact with the disability whether it is stable does not expect for the change over the time of the support with the need for the accommodation student will not be expected to submit additional documentation unless they require the accommodation has not already been approved and is not supported with the previously submitted with the documentation. Annual review renewal. Annual renewal verification approved with the student with the diagnosis of the disorder with the condition with the which impact with the may change over the student time. Students with the may must be submitted updated the documentation annually allowing official student disability should the address with the verification status with approved the accommodations necessary. Temporary verification status must be approved and student would have submitted some of the documentation with the such diagnosis may be completed updated with the student with the verified temporarily allowing them time to gather the necessary with the documentation. Temporary verification may also give them the resource to allow the student with the receive the temporary entry of the main accommodation with the entry of the sufficiently healed. Student verified blank over the time recommended with the treating physician denied the student made a defined verification for several reasons included but not limited to the following submitted the documentation does not support person with a diagnosis disorder. Diagnosed disorder does not rise with the level of being disabled to update with additional documentation requested with the not submitted with the applicant with the not submitted with the student at the college required verification meeting with not attended with the student with a contact from the student has ceased. Proceed with the requesting accommodation. Each gentleman responsible for the verified student with the request for the accommodation every the academic term officer with the student with a disability does not automatically implement accommodation for the term-by-term basis. Students receive the accommodation should log with it into their Starfish account submit with the quarter request of the providing appropriate information. Therefore, the students are encouraged the request for the accommodation early each term. Whether there is no deadline, complete with the term accommodation request for the instructor not obligated to provide with the accommodation. Student with the term of the accommodation request completed is the student request responsible to meet with each of the instructor to discover the notification level of the desire with accommodation stuff with the assume with the may require for the notification level of the timely notice before with the accommodation even the instructor only required to provide the classroom accommodations only once they have to receive the electronic letter but not provide with the accommodation retroactively. Some of the accommodation have additional requirements before they can be implemented. These accommodations may need to be requested at least 3 weeks before the start of the term reasonable time frame, but before the accommodations involve collaboration and coordination with the other department and company with the required of the weeks of the process. Some accommodation requests make extensive at the time of the validated with the implement. Georgia Military College will make efforts to provide with the accommodation reasonable time frame with the how of the time student. Accommodation request for the substantial with the impact of the internal GMC evaluation implementation process with the request for the accommodation start with the term maybe too late. Resource for the accommodation are most likely to be the resource for the accommodation made prior to the start of the term. Student eligible to the following accommodations shall supply schedule of officer for the student with a disability, registration, communicability, and schedule for the change for the student with the possible to communicate with the officer with a disability service regarding alternate formats needed as quickly as possible. The alternate format materially assistive of technology service providers. Procedure request for the change of the approved accommodation. Students verify whether eligible accommodation may require the alternative of the accommodation, but obviously approved with the accommodation request may be submitted to rank with a detailed description with the support with the need with any change with the manager for the student with a disability for the review with the submission with the documentation file will determine any change with additional documentation. Student with the interview may be required to facilitate any change with the student with a disability with the may also contact with the student with to gather more information about the reason for the request. Gender-based misconduct policy. Members of Georgia Military College community guests and visitors have the right to free from sexual violence and all campus community with the members of the conduct themselves in a manner that does not infringe upon the right of the other GMC with that believes in zero tolerance policy for the gender-based misconduct. When allegation of misconduct brought to the appropriate administrative detention with the respond with the file with the violated policy serve with the sanction with the use with the interest with such action with never repeated with the policy has been with the develop the reaffirming the principle provide with the recourse of the individual whose right that had been violated. The policy intended with the divine with the community examining expectation of the established for the mechanism determining whether the expectations have violated. Title 9 Policy Exemptions Overview of Policy Exemption concerning physical and sexual misconduct. Georgia Military College adhere to all federal, state, and civil right laws banning discrimination. Public institution, higher education. Georgia Military College will not discriminate against employee with the applicant, employee with the student, applicant admission with the base of the race, of the hearing status, personal appearance, color, sex, pregnancy, political affiliation, source of income with the place of the business, resident of the religion, creed, ethnicity, of the national origin, including ancestry, citizenship status, physical or mental disability, age, marital status, family responsibility, sexual orientation, gender or identity, veteran military status, including special disabled veteran, Vietnam era veteran, recently separated veteran, predisposed with genetic characteristic, domestic violence victim status, and their protected category of applicable local, state, federal law, including protection for the opposed of discrimination, particularly with the complaint process for the campus within Equal Opportunity Commission and other human rights agency with the public policy cover the discrimination, employment, and access for the educational opportunities. Therefore, any member of the campus community with a guest or visitor who acts denied with the deprived limited educational, employment, social access, or benefited opportunities of any member of the campus community with the basis of the actual with the receive the membership of the protected class listed above the violation college policy with non-discrimination. Brought to the attention of the college and said that discrimination appropriately remembered with the college according with the procedure below with the policy expanded with the GMC policy 5001 prevention, discrimination, and harassment. Overview policy exemption concerning with the consensual relationship with the adhere with the risk of the romantic sexual relation between individuals of the unequal proportion positions, such as student, teacher, supervisor, employee with a relationship, it may be less consensual to perceive the individual with a position conferred with the power of the relationship to view it differently by each part of the particular in the retrospect with furthermore with the circumstances of the previously welcome the conduct being unwelcome even in both parties have the consent of the romantic sexual involvement of the outset set with the parties of the consent of the remove the grounds of the later charge of violating applicable sections of the faculty staff of the handbook. The college does not wish to interfere with the personal choice regarding personal relationship with the relationship that does not impede with the goals and policy of the college of the personal protection of the member of the community relationship and with the power differential in the here of the faculty student, staff student, administrative student, or generally discover with the consensual of the romantic sexual relationship with the one party with the maintain with the direct supervisor with the evaluated role over the other party unethical. Therefore, with the person with the direct supervisor evaluate with the responsibility involved stuff of the relationship by bringing those relations with the timely attention from the supervisor would likely result with the necessity. Move the employee supervisor evaluated responsibility or shift the student with the out of being supervised evaluated by someone whom they established for the consensual relationship that includes students over the whom they have direct responsibility policy prohibited to no relationship with failure self-report such relationships to the supervisor required can result in disciplinary action with the employee. 10 ways to distinguish consent with a guide with student and advisory and its advisor. Full list of the training resource for the result of sexual assault with the victim rights methods and facts. Click here for the listening training videos for the practice of navigating the difficulty sensitive topics. GMC adhere to the policy of Title 9 compliant with result process of the result of the type of the complaints. Georgia Military College is committed to maintain safe and respectful educational work environment and free from all other forms of sexual misconduct with discrimination for all other behavior that is strictly prohibited result of disciplinary and legal action. Sexual misconduct not limited to sexual harassment, non-consensual sexual contact, non-consensual sexual intercourse, sexual exploitation, dating, violence, stalking, domestic violence, sexual harassment. Sexual harassment includes any unwelcome conduct with sexual nature for the truth of the person, with the object of the offense, effectively deny the person equal access to the college education program activities. These include quid pro quo harassment, offering academic professional benefits in exchange for sexual favors, hostile environmental harassment, retaliatory harassment related to participation in complaint process. GMC prohibited harassment, the discrimination based on the race and sex, including pregnancy, sexual orientation, gender identity, ethical, national origin, religion, age, disability, any other protected staff of the applicable laws. Relation prohibited, retaliation prohibited. GMC strictly prohibits retaliation against individuals who report sexual misconduct, participate in investigation, exercise the rights of the timeline related to no employee, student, official that may interfere with a person's right to file a complaint with state of the federal agencies. No consensual sexual contact denied, defined as intentional sexual touching, however slight, any body with an object by a person upon any other without consent or by force exclude. Examples include touching of the breast, buttocks, groin, genitals, mouth, or other intimate body parts, forcing another to touch you themselves in a sexual manner. Non-consensual sexual intercourse defined sexual penetration, intercourse, however slight, with any body part or object by a person upon any other person without consent by force, whose vaginal anal penetration by a penis, object, finger, or tongue, oral consumption, mouth to genital, genital to mouth contact, sexual exploitation, defining sexual advantage with another person without consent with a baby that does not otherwise fall in with the definition of sexual harassment, non-consensual sexual contact, intercourse. Examples include voyeurism, watching the engage of the private acts without consent, record the distribution, images, video, audio, sexual activity without consent, engaging sexual activity knowingly infected with the HIV and other STD without a disclosure, prostitution, knowingly exposing someone to sexual harm, to mischief with drugs, alcohol, to impair judge, date rape, drugs, reporting assistance, age to employment of visitor with the extreme of the witness, sexual misconduct, discriminating behavior that strongly encourages the report incident and trust with the DMC, official reports made to the Title IX Human Resources 478387 and 4957, campus police chaplain, ATMC faculty, staff member that individuals consider the initiating formal and informal resolution process, provide support services. Other applicable definitions: consent, knowingly, voluntary, explicit permission, word, action, engaging mutually agreed upon sexual activity. Such individuals that can experience the same interaction differently. Each for the party may ensure that the other consent may be engaging in any activity consent to be valid. There must be clear expression of the words, action over the individually consent specific sexual contact. People cannot consent with the conduct, cannot understand what's happening in other, and disorientated, helpless for the sleep of the unconscious for any of the reason, including alcohol or the other drug, with an individual who will engage in sexual activity, the individual know that and should know the other person with a physical, mentally incapacity with violated policy. It's not to achieve the individual response to sexual misconduct, intoxicated, but therefore it does not reveal incapacity for the other. Incapacitation is a state when someone cannot make a rational, reasonable decision because they cannot give the known consent, understand who, what, when, where, why, or how of a sexual interaction policy covered with the policy of the incapacity result of a mental disability, involuntary physical restraint, or from taking incapacitation drugs. Consent with a sexual contact such as kissing or fondling can be presumed to be consent with the other sexual activities having intercourse. Current previously dating relationships are not sufficient to of the consent of the existing consent was based on the totality of the circumstances to cover the context of which alleged incident occurred with similar previous patterns. There may be evidence similar absence of the resistance of the loan with not consent. People can withdraw consent anytime during sexual activity by expressing the words action they will no longer want to act. To continue this happens with the other person must stop it immediately. Say the Georgia minor meaning a person under age 16 cannot consent with a sexual activity means with a sexual contact adult over the person younger than 16 is crime in violation of the policy with a minor wanted to engage in this act. Georgia Code stipulates with the consent of the means to assist with the fact with expressly implied which is not induced by force, threat, false pretense, fraud, given by a person that actor knows and should have known, not legally authorized to act for the owner, given the person with because of the youth of the mental disease, defect with the intoxication known, should be known by the actor unable to make a reasonable decision, give us all the detect with the convention of an offense with the definition applied with the criminal prosecution. Georgia made a difference with the use of the campus address policy violations. Forcing use of physical violence, imposing someone physically to gain successful act of force also include the intimidation, implied threats of the coercion, or the overall resistance of produced consent, with the use of force not worse of the subjective experience of the violation. Someone who has sex without consent with the use of physical support also consents to with a standalone non-sexual offense. Of those who have the physical force, restrict battery, etc., will face not just the sexual misconduct charges, but also charged with a code of conduct for assaultive behavior. There's no requirement for resist sexual evidence required for the resistance clear demonstrate with the non-consent with the absence of the resistance does not demonstrate with the presence of force. Sexual activity is for the definition of non-consent with the non-consensual sexual activity is not defined by force. Coercion is unreasonable pressure for the sexual activity. Coercive behavior, the definition for the seductive behavior based on the type of the pressure someone gives to with consent with the other. When someone makes clear when they want to do, when we do want sex, they want to stop, what they have to do and not want to pass a certain point of sexual interaction, continue pressure beyond that point can be coercive. Incapacitation, sexual activity with someone who should know to be based on the circumstances reasonable to have the known mental, physically incapacitated by an alcohol or drug use and unconscious or blackout constitutes a violation of policy. Incapacitation state with where someone cannot be rational, reasonable decision because of the cannot give the known consent, understand who, what, when, where, why, how, and over the sexual interaction policy also cover the incapacity with the result of mental disability, sleep, and involuntary physical restraint, the taking, rape, drugs, possession, of the distribution, any of the substance, including ribofil, ketamine, GHB, burgundianga, etc., prohibited with the administration of one of the drugs and other student violates the policy. More information with these drugs found with womenshealth.gov. AZ topic date rate drugs. Use alcohol and other drugs will never function with a defensive or any other behavior violates the policy. Sexual orientation, gender, of the individuals against the sexual activity are irrelevant. Allegation under the policy reference for the pretended 8 statute within the 6th offense with the PCOCGA Title 6 in Chapter 6. Sexual misconduct sanctions. Any student with a found wrongful violation of the policy of the non-consensual force sex for the content of the no intercourse occur with the likely receipt of the section with the ranging with a prohibition exposed depending on the severity of the incident with any with the previous campus conduct with the code of violation student with the force of the wrongful violating part of the non-consensual force sexual intercourse likely to face over the recommended sanction and suppression expulsion of any of the student that have the wrongful violating policy of sexual exploitation and sexual harassment likely to receive the recommendation sanction ranging from a warning exposed depending on the severity of the incident of the previous campus with the code of the conduct, with the code of the conduct, acting by language of the right of the broadening, lessening of the range of the recommended with the sections, with the case of the aggravating serve, the immigrating circumstance, with the egregious offensive behavior, with the need of the initial hearing officer, with the apply with the nor appeal with the body, with the official with the will to deviate with the range, recommended sanction with the compelling justification exists to do so with the misconduct offense with the violating student code of conduct could also fall under the Title 9 where the conduct has been shared with the procedure. If you're a student who is experiencing sexual misconduct, encourage to take the following steps to ensure the safety of access to available to support resources, ensure the immediate safety to move to safe locations for all of them immediately danger, call 911, seek support, contact trusted friend, family member, GMC staff, faculty member, Title 9 coordinator, campus police, immediate help guidance, sexual medical attention, seek medical attention, physical harm occur with evidence collection, desire of a local hospital, medical center with avoid bathing, changing clothes, cleaning up in order to preserve evidence. GMC does not provide on-campus medical examinations. Report the incident or may report the incident any of the following Title 9 coordinator 478-387-4957 campus police chaplain GMC employee local law enforcement external agencies. Coordinator does not obligate for the pursuit of the formal complaint but helps ensure that the rights or options of the fully explained and protected counseling medical with the victim separately is over the advice of the following recommended steps above with the GMC but it does not for the on-campus forensic with medical with the referral with the provided for the local support centers of the hospital special with the trauma and informed care. Disciplinary action pursued with the disciplinary action related sexual offense will be handled according to the college Title 9 process with the student with the miscoded conduct processes. GMC campus for the sexual assault victims bill of rights the right to have the sexual assault against the treat with the seriousness of the right of the victim to be treated with the dignity with the right of campus the organization to shift the victim with the reaction with the right to have sexual assault committed again for the investigator with the educated duly considered with the criminal and civil rights of the government ended with the crimes occurred with the right to full with the prompt cooperation assist for the campus the personnel with the no offense with the property authorities proceeding with in addition with any of the campus disciplinary protection and proceed with the rights to the free with the pressure with the campus personnel such for the renowned to report crimes committed again for the civil and criminal authorities of the campus law with enforcement disciplinary official for the report of the crime with lesser offense this is for the victim receive them rights for the freedom of the suggestion on the campus for the sexual act assault with a victim not reported under report with a crime because of the victim somehow be responsible for the commission of the crimes against someone, the victim with a contributor and negligently assume the risk of being assaulted by report crime would incur with the unwanted person, personal publicity. Same right legal assistance ability to have the other persons in camp the disciplinary procedure of the institution permitted to accuse of the right to be notified of the outcome of the proceeding, rights of full and prompt cooperation with campus personnel with the team screening with the maintaining evidence including medical examination as being necessary for the proof of the criminal sexual assault with the subsequent legal presumably the right to be aware of it and assist with exercising any portion of the provided state federal laws regulation any mandatory testing sexual assault as suspect with infectious disease about identification victim with the results such testing written counseling with any mental health service previously established by the institution of the victim service and the victim themselves. Title IX, Confidential Privacy and Policy Reporting. Responsible employee, Georgia Military College requires all employees to act as mandatory reports to Title IX. This means that the employee who becomes aware of the possible sexual harassment, sexual assault, dating violence, domestic violence, stalking, is expected to report with a concern with directly with the Title IX coordinator through the supervisor report operation with a privacy exemption. At Georgia Military College, we understand incident of sexual harassment, assault, dating violence, stalking with a may be deeply personal, traumatic with an event with the employee wishes to fail with a complaint with a harassment report with a concern with the supervisor with the human resource with the Title IX. Coordinated directly, students have the right to comply with whenever they feel most comfortable with the employee GMC honor choice with maintain clearly guidelines, confidential reporting obligation. Confidential reporting. One professional counsel with the chaplain, Title IX coordinator with the consider the confidential brief of the individual will receive the information incident without being required to report details to the other. It's a very limited situation immediately threat with the health and safety of the case that involved with the abuse of the minor. Since we speak with these of the individuals can expect the information to keep private and confidential private reporting. Students may achieve that will speak with the employees who will not concern with confidential with the employee encouraged to inform the supervisor of the general concern, but they should not share the names specifically detailed with unless with the permission, except in rare circumstances with the safety at risk of the person will identify with the information shared with the communicated to the few individuals and necessary great care taken in protect privacy. Formal report options. Students, employee who wish to make the formal report encouraged to contact one of the following Title IX coordinator, preparatory school principal. If applicable, a designated representative of the military branch, service to the JC with the Corps, with the cadet, with the campus policy, local law enforcement. Alright, formal reports taken seriously, GMC will ensure the reports are overly investigated, overly according to the institutional procedure, even during the formal the privacy is respectful to law and number of official will need to file with the info of the information shared only with the individual sensitive of the process with the investigator with the witness, respond with the GMC with the work preserve the privacy and dignity throughout federal statistic reporting obligations. Certain campus officials may report sexual misconduct federal statistical reporting purposes of the Clarity Act. All personnel identifiable the information kept confidential statistical information be passed along with the campus with law enforcement regarding the type of the incident of the general location on and off the campus surrounding you with the address that are given them for publication annual campus security report. The reports help to provide community with a clear picture of the extent of the nature of the campus crime to ensure the greater community safety mandate. Federal reports included to in contact with the fair with the campus law enforcement, local police, coaches, athletic directors, resident life staff to the activities. Staff, human resource staff, graduation coach, student organization, other officials with a significant responsibility with the campus activity information schedule included date, location, incident, using clarity, location categories, clarity, crime category. This is a reporting project with identify the victim may be done anonymously. Federal time warning reporting obligations as required. Clarity Act victims of sexual misconduct should be college administrator with the main issue for the timely warning incident report with those posed substantial threat of the bodily harm danger to campus. Community members, Georgia Military College will make effort to ensure the victim's name will identify with the information is not discovered that still have provided enough information community members to take a decision likely to potential danger. Equity grievance process is resolving complaints, harassment, sexual misconduct, other forms of discrimination. Georgia Military College will act in formal, and informal complaint with notice violation, equal opportunity, harassment, non-discrimination policy will receive within Title IX coordinated administrative members. Procedures below apply with a complaint involving students, faculty, with a member of the perceived the usher redraft of the request of the response with the action with complaint brought against the non-members of the community. Equity grievance panel with a member of the equity grievance panel with an announced each year with the institution-wide distribution of the policy with the employee student with the policy is all available on the website with the current prospective student with the parents and prospective Employees equity grievance panel with the members receive the training all aspects of the grievance process of the main assignment with the series of the various role of the discretion of the Title IX coordinator. Provides sensitive intact with the initial counseling with complaints serve with the meditation role of the retro justice for the action justice and conflict resolution investigation complaints. Advisor advocates involved in complaints serve with the hearing panel for the complaints serve with an appeal for the panels of the complaint. Equity grievance panel over the members of the recommended policy change existing public service and the educated role of the community advice of the Title IX coordinator, chief staff of the appointment panel with the report Title IX coordinator, equity grievance panel members receive the training organized Title IX coordinator, including review of the Georgia Military College policy and procedures. EGP members are required to attend the training. All this training, other training may be necessary to decide with the chief of staff of the Title IX coordinator. Equity grievance panel includes 2 co-chairs, at least 2 faculty members, at least 2 chief administrative of the academic officers, defined GMC policy 5020, at least 2 members of the non-academic staff, 2 representative of the academic affairs, 1 representative of the campus police, 1 representative of human resource, 1 representative officer of the command cadets, and at least 1 representative of the athletics. Panel members are usually appointed 1-year terms. The appointment of the EGP will be made with the attentive and representation group for protect with the harassment and non-discrimination policy. Filing a complaint. Any member of the community with a guest with a visitor with a belief of the policy, equal opportunity harassment, and non-discrimination violated with contact Title IX coordinator, possibly employee with the notify with the supervisor of the student, with the notify with the faculty member, the administrator with the support staff member, any with a member of the community may contact campus lead individual with the interest with the notify with the Title IX coordinator with the college website. Also includes reporting form to gmc.edu with the Title IX non-discrimination hazard harassment will solve the initial complaint. All employees receiving the reports of the potential violation of the college policy with the promptly contact with the Title IX coordinator, supervisor with 24 hours, becoming aware of the report, and so all of the initial contact straight with the maximum possible privacy. Specific information complaint received in any party with the reported Title IX coordinator, but subject to the college obligation to redress the violation. Every effort will be made to maintain privacy with the initial report of the complaint. In all cases, the Georgia Military College consider the complaint concerned with the half of the complaint is pursued, but reserve the right necessary for the protect the community, investigate, pursue, resolution, alleged victim, receive, not initiate, participate in formal complaint intake. Following receipt of the notice of complaint with the Title IX coordinator properly assigned with the EGP panel member to advise or advocate the person with the report with the complaint made closed with the another trained or non-trained advisor proceed with the advisor. Usually 2 business days initial determination is made with the policy violation may occur with the whether the conflict resolution might be appropriate. The complaint does not appear alleged of policy violation, conflict resolution is desired with the complaint, and appear with the appropriate given the nature of alleged behavior of the complaint does not proceed with into the investigation. 3. If the circumstance required, chief of the staff of the Title IX coordinator may designate another person to oversee the process of the complaint, but against the coordinator otherwise unable to fill with their duties. A full investigation necessarily pursue with the evidence pattern of the misconduct, pursue with the threat of the harm of the community, and the friend with the college aim to complete all investigations 30 business days can extend with the necessary for the reform cause of the Title IX coordinator notice of the parties. Investigation complaint. Wish if the proceed with a formal complaint, college based on alleged policy violation, proceed with the following formal complaint with the Title IX coordinator is appropriate to determine the EGP for the conduct of the investigation with the 2 business for the determining with the complaint should proceed with the investigation complaint with directly alleging harm that should be completed expeditiously with the 10 business day with notice for the coordinator. Investigation no longer with the initial complaint fails to provide with the first hand with the information college may undertake with a short delay of 3 to 10 days allowed with the evidence of the collection criminal charge based on some of the behaviors of the invoked of this process are being investigated. Georgia military action will not be able to produce the civil or criminal charge if it involved with some of the incident filed with the charge of the dismissed and reduced. All of the investigations are only reliable and impartial will include the interviews all of the relevant parties witnesses being available to evidence for identifying with the source of expert information is necessary. Interim remedies. Title IX coordinator designating and provide the interim remedies address short with the long-term effect of the harassment, discrimination, retaliation, redress for the harm and alleged victim of the community with the prevent for the harassment violation, interim remedy with the show value with the judgment. Title IX coordinator safe for the well-being any of the member of the campus community may be jeopardized presence of the campus with the activity individual ongoing activities to an organization who behavior is in question of the remedies may refer over the off-campus counseling health with the referral through the Vice President Human Resource Equal Opportunity Employee Assistance Program altering housing situation access accused candidate student and with a resident employee with alleged victim if the desired alleged altering work arrangements employee with a providing campus export with implementing contact limitations between the parties offering adjustment of the academic deadlines course of the schedule of the college may interpret the to suspend with a student with the employee with the organization pending with the completion of the EG of the investigation procedure. All cases of the initial interim suspension of the employee with the student with the employee student organization would allow them to meet the Title IX coordinator before such suspension is imposed. As soon as possible, show the cause for all the suspension should not be implemented. The Title IX coordinator has the sole discretion of the implement statement in terms of suspension of the equal opportunity harassment and non-discriminating policy determining condition of the duration violation in terms of the suspension of the owner of the policy ground with a student with expulsion with employee termination. Determining and turning suspension for the administrative leave of student with employee with an age denied with access to the campus facility with events for the housing, if applicable, determined by the appropriate administrative the alpha of Title IX with the destiny with the restriction may include with the class with the other college activity with the purpose of the student might otherwise be eligible. Description GMC with ice with the junior college online act. It's been alternative coursework options may be pursued with an ensure with the minimal impact as possible on the accused student. Complaint resolution during upon the complete investigation investigated with the meet with the Title IX with the coordinator support with the base on the meeting with the Title IX coordinator with the decide with the reasonable call with the proceed with the complaint with the process claim with the Title IX coordinator with the no violation policy with the current with the compliant request with the Title IX coordinator with the actual determination reopened with the investigation for the manner of the hearing decision lies in the sole discretion of the Title IX coordinator the reasonable call with the Title IX coordinator directly investigation continue with the after the preponderance of the evidence of violation within the Title IX may recommend conflict resolution without a hearing with a formal hearing with based on the below criteria conflict resolution. Conflict resolution, even less served yet with an inappropriate behavior that encourages the alternative of the formal hearing process for the resolve conflicts. Title IX coordinator for the determining conflict resolution, appropriate debate of the willingness, party of the nature of the conduct of the issue, suspectability, conduct of the conflict resolution, EGP member will, when possible, facilitate dialogue with the parties due with the effect of the resolution, sanction of the possible to do conflict resolution process due with the parties may agree with the appropriate remedy of the Title IX coordinator will keep the records of the resolution reached for the failure to abide with the court with the control of the appropriate responsible action. Conflict resolution without primary resolution mechanisms address the complaint with the sexual misconduct, violent behavior, any concept of the policy violation, have with it may be available with the informal process complete with the charge party with the Title IX coordinator believe that it could be beneficial for the owner for the proceed with the conflict resolution and make informal EGP complaint. Anyone participating in conflict resolution can stop that process with request for formal hearing. Resolution without a hearing result with a resolution without a hearing can be proposed at any time during the process with any behavior for all of the policy, equal opportunity harassment, non-discrimination, the Title IX coordinator, providing a notification complaint with any member of the college committee who is successfully offensive with harassment, discrimination, retaliation, respondent may chief of the admitted responsibility for all of the part of the alleged policy violations at any point of the process over the Title IX coordinator will render a fine with the individual violates college policy admitted with the conduct with the normally proceed with the complaint with a formal hearing and remaining dispute violation admitted violations of the appropriate co-chair of the EGP with the recommended term and the appropriate sanction of the response of the action, sanction of the response of the action, except for the both of the complaint, responded with the Title IX coordinator, implement action promptly with effectively to remedy the effects of the measure with the conduct of the victim and the community with either party with a reject with the sanction of the response of the action. EGP hearing will be held only with the sanction of the response of the action according to the EGP procedure below with exemption of the at will of the employees who find with the response of the action determined by Vice President Human Resources the baseline investigation results. Formal hearing. Title IX coordinator will initiate the formal hearing compliance appropriate with the conflict resolution will not resolve without a hearing employees with a hearing process will refer with the finding of the Vice President Human Resources with the implementation. Formal equity grievance payment will proceed with the process method to divert with the faculty student with the conduct of the process with the appoint a hearing and necessary with the hearing panels. Title IX will appoint with the non-voting chair with either one of the EGP, the co-chair, with an administrator with the hearing officer depending on whether the response faculty, the member, the another employee with the student with the three member of the EGP, the hearing panel with the none over the win previously involved with the complaint, EGP members serve investigators witness for the hearing with the complaint, thereby not function with the hearing with the panel. Members of the hearing panels may include both faculty and non-faculty employees, at least one faculty employee selected with the complaint against the faculty member. No member that may be practicing attorney. Party panel will meet as determined by the chairs. Notification and charge with at least 1 week before the hearing in advance for the possible accelerated hearing and schedule of the parties. Consent of the EGP co-chair with the ability to send a letter with the party following information once being able to email to receive it in person. Know the presumptive of delivered letter will contain inscription of alleged violation, scripted applicable procedures, a statement of potential sanction responsive action with the could result, time, date, location, hearing with the remainder of the attentive of the mandatory suspending all of the on-campus activity. The party does not approve of the schedule of the hearing. The hearing will be held within their absent compelling reason, the co-chair reschedule the hearing. Parties may assist with the EGP panel with the other advisors over the hearing, and typically advise the campus community members of the Title IX coordinator may grant with the permission outside with the advisor upon request. Advisors may not participate in the may not be a practicing attorney, but the practicing attorney may present in the hearing room of the rare incident of the civil and criminal court proceedings currently involved with the party with a complaint with the chair discretion. The legal counsel may be permitted to serve as an advisor. The advisor may not make a presentation representing the complaint. Respondent during the hearing with the parties of the hearing will are expected to ask and respond to the question on behalf of the advisor representation, and the advisor consult with the advisor quietly in a writing outside of the hearing during the breaks, but may not speak with the panel on behalf of the advisee. Hearings of the possible violation of the occur with the near and after the end of the academic term will be held immediately after the end of the term during the summer as near to meet with the resolution time filed with the college and remain within 30-day goal of the resolution. Hearing procedures. Equal grievance hearings will be made usually within 1 to 2 weeks of the completion of the investigation conducted within private. The EGP have the authority to hear over the collateral misconduct of the meaning of the hears over the alleged allegation of discrimination, harassment, retaliation. May also hear with additional alleged policy violation occurred with the concern with the discrimination, harassment, retaliation, even if the collateral allegations may not specifically fall under the EGP jurisdiction. Accordingly, investigation conducted with a broad scope is necessary with the participation include with a non-voting chair, 3 members of the panel with the investigator the complaint with a response 3 with the organizing representative of the case for the organization, chair with the advocate for the advocate with the department with the called witness, chair will exchange the name of the witness with the college and send with the call with the written documentary evidence of any writings, findings of the investigators between the party with at least 2 business days before the hearing. In addition, parties will give it the list of the names of the EGP panel member at least 2 business days before the hearing should any part with the object of the panel, so they must be made to leave with a rise objection when the writing the chair of the panel with the members only unsuited if the chair will conclude with the bias precluded impartial compliant hearing. Additionally, any of the panelists, the chair who feel that cannot make objective of the determination may recuse themselves from the proceeding when notified or identified by the parties all witness in advance of the hearing. In consultation with the party investigator, the chair has made a decide advance of the hearing with the certain witnesses do not need the physical presence of the testimony can be adequately summoned with the investigator during the hearing. All parties have an ample opportunity to present facts, arguments, and fully question all of the present witnesses during the hearing through cross-examination not used between the parties. Alternatively, question mechanism or such technology questions directed through and the chair of the parties should require for the room of the chair at least 2 business days before the hearing. One procedure with explain with the participation and true of the investigators will present investigative reports for the subject of the question and party for the EGP with the investigator will present during the entire hearing process will be only present during deliberation. Chair will require for the investigation refined with not binding with a panel with undisputed counsel. Conclusion of the investigative report will not be revisited except with the necessary term and sanction responsible action once investigators are questioned. EGP panel and permanent questions of and the parties any present witnesses questions made directive through the panel in discretion of the chair. Formal rules of evidence will not apply. Evidence panel will believe the relevant and credible may be considered to include a history pattern of evidence, so the chair will address the evidentiary concern with the before and during the hearing may exclude the irrelevant immaterial evidence that may ask the panel to disregard evidence lacking on the credibility. Chair will determine all the questions proceed with the evidence. Anyone appearing at the hearing provided information will respond to the questions on their behalf. Unless the chair that determines if it's appropriate, no one will present information or with a question concerning the one incident not directly with a possible violation unless they show the pattern, true sexual history with the character of the victim compliant. If the competent with the job performance of the concern of the committee will not substitute with the judgment, competent with the performance of the judgment of the appropriate campus official with the function of the hearing panel with the determine the policy with the process with the criteria of arriving at judgment, competent with the performance with the consistent college policy with regarding with the harassment and non-discrimination. There will no observer that in the hearing chair will also would know the relevant information appear in the portion of the hearing to respond to the questions from the panel of the parties involved. Bill does not hear the character witness but will accept the 2 letters supporting character of the individuals involved. The hearings involve more than one accused individual. 2 complaints will have the accused of the same individual substantially similar conduct. Standard procedure will be to hear the complaints jointly. However, the Title IX coordinator may permit the hearing pertinent with each respondent with the conduct separately. If the joint hearing separated, the determination responsibility will be made to each respondent. Proceeding here, the EGP chairman warns all of the person present at the time of the during of the hearing will make sure that the maintaining of the privacy proceeding subject to the college of the consequence of the failure to do so, while the concern of the hearing of the private party for the habit of discretion to share their own experience with it if they choose to ensure the discovery of doing so with the graduation coach and advocates. Hearings are recorded for purpose of review. The event with the people of the EGP monitor of the person will be initiated with the action appropriately administered by the officer of the college will be allowed to listen to the recording to the location of the determined in Title IX coordinator designee. No person will give them allowed to make a copy of the recording without permission over the Title IX coordinator. Person given the action for the recording will be required to sign an agreement confirming that they will protect the privacy information contained in the recording decisions. The EGP will deliberate closed session will determine whether or not the respondent is responsible for the violation question. Panel will base the determination on the preponderance of the evidence whether there is more likely than not to be accused individual committed each alleged violation. If the individual respondent organization found responsible for the majority of the panel recommended appropriate sanction for the Title IX coordinator. Chair will prepare with a written deliberation report delivered with the Title IX coordinator detailing the finding how each member voted the information side with the panel and support with the recommendation information hearing panel with exclude with the consideration why. Board should conclude with any recommendation sanction of the report should not exceed the 2 pages of the must be submitted with the Title IX coordinator within 2 days of the end of the deliberations. Title IX coordinator designee will inform the accused individual of the complaint with the final determination 2 to 3 business days of the day of the hearing. Notification will be made with the delivered by one or more of the following methods: in person, mail with the local permanent address for the parties and indicate with the official Georgia Military College records email and part of the Georgia Military College issued email account. Once mailed, emailed, and received in person, notice will be presumptively delivered. Sanctions. EGP will determine sanction for the response of the action with the factors considered when selecting a sanction. The response of the action may include the nature, sensitivity, circumstances surrounding the violation, individual disciplinary history, previous complaints, allegation involving similar conduct, any other information deemed relevant by the EGP, the need of a sanction response for the action to bring an end to the discrimination, harassment, retaliation, need for sanction response for the action to prevent further reoccurrence of the discrimination, harassment, retaliation, need to remedy the effect of the discrimination, harassment, retaliation of the victim and the community. Student sanctions. Following the use of the usual sanction of the imposed upon the student by the organization soundly in combination more informal statement of the behavior of the unacceptable warning with a further infraction of the Georgia military policy perceived with the directive of the mayor's office for the sanction of the responsible for the action, probation, written reprimanded violation code of student conduct, providing for the more severe disciplinary sanctions if the student organization found violation of any Georgia military college policy procedure directive specified period. Terms of probation will be specified and may include denials of specified social purpose exclusion of the co-curricular activity, non-contact orders, other measures deemed appropriate. Suspension terminating student status for the definite period that not exceed 1 year within until specific criteria they are met with a student with a return of the suspension for the are automatically placed with the probation remainder with the tenure of the college sanction will not be as conducted with disciplinary suspension for the student official with the transcript expulsion. Permanent termination of the student staff with the revocation of the rights to be on the campus for any reason attended Georgia military college sponsored events. This sanction will not be noted as conduct disciplinary expulsion with the student with the official with the transcript. NB expulsions must be approved by the president. Withhold the diploma. The college may withhold the student with a diploma for a specified period with the denial of the student participation commencement activity. The student have a complaint pending with a sanction of the student if it is found responsible for the alleged violation, revocation of the degree of the college, receive the right to the revoke of the degree of the war, Georgia military college fraud, misrepresentation of the violation, Georgia military college policy, proceed with the directive, obtaining with a degree for other serious violation committed with the student before the graduation, and B with the revocation of the degree must be approved by the president with the organizational sanction and activation loss for the L privilege specified period. Other action additional with the play for the above with the sanction of the college may be assumed any other sanction of the deemed appropriate. Alright, employee sanction of the rep responsible for the action of the employee who would engage in harassment, discrimination, retaliation, warning required, counseling, disemotion, suspension with pay, suspension without pay, determination, withdrawal of the resignation while charges pending, student with the have the permit, the student with the withdrawal of the student have the complaint pending of violation policy, equal opportunity harassment, non-discriminating other charges over the code of student contact will the student decide with leave but not participate in investigation with the hearing process will proceed with a reasonable resolution. If the student is absent, the student will not be permitted to return to the Georgia military college unless all sanctions have been satisfied. Employee should an employee resign while charges are pending with the record of the Title IX coordinator will reflect the status of the college responsible to any of the future inquiries and regarding employment references or that individual Title IX coordinator will act promptly with effectively remedy with the effect of the conduct by a victim and the community appeals. All request of appeal consideration made with the writing Title IX coordinator, file business for the delivery written finding with the EGP for the members of the EGP, the appointment with the chief of staff, with the will concern with the appeal, with the request of any party with a ban appeal, with appeal with limited to the following: procedural error and omission that significantly impact with the hearing outcome and is substantiated by the material of the deviation with the established procedure. See with the new evidence unknowingly unavailable during the original hearing with the investigator with good substantial impact with the original finding with sanction summary with the new evidence and potential impact must be included. Sanction put with the substantial disproportion and the severity of the violation. Sanction fall outside of the range of sanction with the college have designated with the offense. The appeal panel of the EGP will review the appeal with the request of the original finding with the sanction respond with the action stand with it for the appeal is not timely not based on the ground listed above the decision is final. Will any party requested an appeal with the other party with the will notify joining an appeal with the party requesting an appeal with the part show over the ground with the appeal request has been met with the other party with the party show over the grounds have been not met and that additional grounds are met with the original findings sanctions are presumed and have been decided reasonable with appropriately. Well, the EGP appeal with the panel found with at least one of the grounds is met with the perceived additional principle of governing hearing with appeal with included the following: appeal the decision with the EGP panel with a deferential with the original decision making the change with the finding only where with a clear error with a sanction with the response with the action only if there is compelling justification to do so. Appeals are not intended to full with a rehearing over the complaint with a must for the appeal with a confined with a review of the record with the original hearing with a pertain with the documentation ground with the grounds for the appeal with appeal ground based on the new evidence should be remanded with the original hearing with the panel with a reconsideration of the appeals of the remedy with the discreet of the Title IX coordinator with a here within 3 members of the panel EGP appointed the chief of the staff and sanction with imposed with the implemented immediately unless the chief of the staff of the Title IX coordinator stay with the implementation pending with the outcome of the appeal. Title IX coordinator will normally offer with a conferring with the EGP panel with the rendering the chief of the staff of the party 2 or 3 business day with a hearing with the appeal with a written decision on the appeal. All parties should be informed of the grounds of the appeal that are accepted with the result of the appeal. The decision not only appeal with the decide with the outcome of the final with further appeal is not permitted. Failure to complete the sanction comply with the responsible action of the responsible to comply with the conduct sanction of the corrective actions were within the time frame specified with the Title IX coordinator with the failure to follow through the conduct with the sanction of the corrective action of the date specified with the weather review the neglect any of the reason may result of the additional sanction of the corrective action suspension expulsion from the termination from the Georgia Military College maybe the student official transcript of the suspension will only be lifted when compliance achieved with the satisfaction of the Title IX coordinator. Record of the implementation policy recorded with the complaint for the resolution hearing will be kept with the Title IX coordinator and definitely Title IX coordinator database. The statement with the complaint writes to be true with the respect for the college officials taking advantage of the campus support resource of the counseling with the student EAP with the services for the employee experience safe living educational work environment to have the advisor advocate during this process review to have the allegation resolved through the conflict resolution procedure see with amnesty with the minor student misconduct such as alcohol drug violation. This incident ancillary is to incident to be free of the retaliation, have complaints heard with a substantial quorum within the procedure, fully participate in EGP process with the include injured party with the college is serving as a complaint, to be informed of the writing of one outcome resolution complaint, sanction with where permissible, the rational other outcome where permissible, statement the respondent rights to be treated with respect of the college official to take advantage of the campus support resources, take an advisory advocate during this process, the review of the allegations and resolve of the conflict resolution, proceed with the have the complaints have with the substantial accordance with these, proceed with the inform of the writing and rational outcome resolution. Question and answers. Here are some of the most commonly asked questions with the GMC sexual misconduct policy. Proceed with the does information have with the complaint with the remain private with the privacy of all the parties complain with the sexual misconduct may be to refer with the insofar with the interfere with the institution obligation to investigate allegations of sexual misconduct thoroughly. With the private is not so strictly kept will be tightly enrolled in new need to know based on discrimination information written material with the two of the person involved with the complaint but she with it is not permitted violation of the privacy with the complaint with the accused with the human merely disciplinary action by the college all complaint with the sexual misconduct with all of the parties involved with the outcome and some of the incidents of the administrative may also mention the brief of the public announcement of the nature of the violation action like take up with the use of the name and identify all the information of the alleged victim the current college administrative informed the outcome of the within the bounds of the student property and president with GMC with the dean assume with the academic administrative if there's respect report of the act of alleged sexual misconduct with the disciplinary conduct officer with the institution the evidence of the felony has occurred with the local police will be notified with the assignment the charge of it will be automatically filed with the victim will speak with the police, but the institution is legally required to notify the law enforcement authority of the institution must also adequately report with the occurrence on campus major violent crimes, including certain sex offenses with the annual report of campus with crime statistics. The report does not include personally identifiable information will my parents be told. Sadly, No, not unless you tell them whether you're complaining with the acute with the student with a GMC primary relation with the student with a not with a parent who have with in the major of the medical disciplinary academic jeopardy with the student with and strongly encouraged to inform the parent of the GMC official will directly notify with the parent request to do the student with an in life threatening situation with the acute with the student is a cadet and has signed with the permission from that allow for such communication. Will the accused student know by my identity? Yes, if the file with a formal claim sexual misconduct serious offense with the acute with the student have the right to know what identify with the complaint of the alleged victim and if they're over the hearing with the client provides the option with a question with a confrontation, include with a closed circuit testimony with Skype with either the room divided with using separate hearing rooms. Do I have the name of the perpetrator? Yes, I want a formal disciplinary action against the alleged perpetrator. If you choose to reform and formally do not file with a formal complaint, you should control with a complete with a confidential policy above the bed, urging a GMC legal obligations depending on what information you share with a different college official. The victim should be able to identify with the perpetrator with limited to the institution ability to respond with comprehensively. And no, what do I do if I am accused of sexual misconduct? Do not cause of the alleged victim may immediately want to contact someone with the campus community with the active with the graduation code. May also contact with the DMC with the web of the DMC pursue with addressing sexual misconduct complaints. May also want to talk to the confidential counselor, seek with the other community assistant with the counselor sentence. See below legal representation. Why as a victim do you have to pay for the counseling medical care? No, typically the institution provides the services already for the victim and active for the community. Non-institutional services payment that will be subject to state and local law with insurance requirements. What about legal advice? Victims of criminal assault will need to not retain with the private attorney with the pursuit of the prosecution before the district with the attorney's office with the will handle with the representation. You want to retain an attorney if you're accused student with it or consider filing a civil action. Accused the student retain the counsel with their experience with if needful advice about the criminal prosecution of the campus conduct proceeding. What about changing residence of the hall rooms? If you want to move with the request of the room change with the room change over the circumstance with the consider the emergency with the typical institutional policy with the emergency room change with the two with it is move with the first available suitable room. If you want to accuse the student with the move with the believe with it, if you want to have the victim of sexual misconduct, you may be willing to pursue with a formal informal college complaint. Or no contact orders can be imposed the room change with the accused incident accused student can usually be arranged quickly. Other accommodation available may include this in GMC with the staff completing relocation system with the scheduling academic assignment of paper and exam, etc., taking complete in class, assisting with the transferring class section, temporary withdrawal. This is an alternative course completion options. Other accommodation for safety is necessary. What should I do about preserving evidence of the sexual assault? Police are the best position with a secure evidence of the crime with the physical evidence of criminal sexual assault may be collected with the alleged victim with the person within 120 hours. However, the extent of the period of the evidence can often be obtained with the towels and sheet with the clothes, etc. If you believe you have the victim of the criminal sexual assault, you should go to the hospital emergency room before washing yourself with your clothing. Sexual assault with a nurse for the examiner, specially trained with a nurse for the hospital. Usually, con calls 24 hours a day, 7 days of the week. Call the emergency room if you want to first seek with a nurse. The ER will refer to you with the victim and advocate with the institution with the company with the hospital with the law enforcement campus policy provide transportation. If the victim goes to the hospital, local police will be called, but you are obligated to talk to the police with the prosecution. Have the evidence collected with the demand, whether it will be kept at all with the option with available to the victim will not obligate them to any of the course action. Collecting evidence with can assist the authorities pursuing the criminal charge should have the victim decided later to exercise for the victim. Hospitals have to collect evidence for the checking of the injuries, the draft of the pregnancy, and possibly exposure for the sexually transmitted infections. If you have to change the clothing since the assault with bringing the clothing you had on the time, the assault you had the hospital clean sanitary containment, the for the cleaning paper, grocery for the bags wrapped in clean sheets with a plastic container, but do not breathe with the may remain render evidence unless if you do not change clothes, bring change with the clothes of the you have at the hospital as you've likely to keep the clothes of the you're wearing as evidence. You can take a support with the person in the hospital with the accompanying with you through the exam if you want. Do not discover the crime scene and live all sheets and towels and that may be evidence for the police to collect. Will a victim be sanctioned for the reporting sexual misconduct policy if they have legally used drugs with alcohol? No severity of the infraction determined with the nature GMC response to with whenever the possible the college respond with the educational level prone to illegal use of the drug or alcohol seriousness sexual misconduct significant concern but the college does not want any of the circumstances drug alcohol and inhibited with the reporting sexual misconduct. Will the use of the drugs and alcohol affect the outcome of the sexual misconduct complaint? Either party using the alcohol or the drugs will not diminish for the accused doing with the responsibility. On the other hand, alcohol and the drugs used are likely to affect the complaint memory, therefore may affect the outcome of the complaint. With the person beginning with the complaint with sexual misconduct may either remember the alleged incident with sufficient circumstantial evidence, physical evidence, witnesses provided the complaint. If the complaint does not remember the circumstance with the alleged incident, but it may not be possible to impose sanctions for the accused without further corroboration, information used for the alcohol with the other drugs, never the accused of the violation of the accused student. So, will either party prior of the use of the drug, alcohol, with the fact of the reporting sexual misconduct, not only for the compelling reason, but the belief of the prior of the use of the abuse of the relevant to the present complaint? What should I do with the unsure learn about what happened? If you believe that you have a career with sexual misconduct, unsure of what it was, the violation of institutional sexual misconduct policy, you should contact the institution Title 9 coordinator. Institute provide the advisor who can help you to define to clarify the event and advise you of your options. Georgia Military College is in debt with the National Center of the Higher Education Risk Management to permit incorporated ideas linked with gender-based misconduct policy for the Title 9 confidential privacy and reporting policy. Responsible employees. I'm going to cut the tape there and get the last.